Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of our La Liga career mode. We're back today with episode 15 and we're returning after winning the La Liga and the Copa del Rey at the end of season 2, and we'll be beginning season 3 today, as there you can see it, winners of the Copa del Rey, first in La Liga. But we need to do better in the Champions League. Big transfer window ahead. Although I'm not planning to make any major changes, still going to be lots of movement. Let's dive straight into it. So here we are then into the new season, season 3, and you can see in the top left my manager rating quite low. Board not happy that we didn't progress past the round of 16 in the Champions League. But board, we've just won the league and cup double. What are you on about, lads? But we'll take a quick look first off at our objectives. Get 7 home matches without defeat, reach the final of the Champions League, win the league and win the cup. Okay, well, no pressure then from the board. Just win a domestic double and reach the final of the Champions League. Well, as we sim through to the 2nd of the month, just to make sure that we get any potential outgoings, any deals going through. This is how the squad is currently looking. Will be Miguel in at left back. Hang on a second. Let me sort out the player positions. Right, there we go. All sorted. This is how the squad is looking. Obviously, we've had a number of players returning from loan. I think a few of them will go out on loan again. There's a few others, the likes of Artero, Almeida, Martinez. I think all of these guys have their deals up at the end of the season, and they're just so lowly rated that they're never going to make it. So they're likely to be resold. I think Jakubishvili and Jimenez maybe going out on loan once again. But yeah, I'm really happy with the squad. Obviously, we won the domestic double last year. Maybe we just need a little bit more quality and a little bit more strength in depth. But I'm not looking to make major changes to the team this year. We've of course seen one of our youngsters, Bryce Vergara, head out on a 2-year loan to Granada. And of course, we've lost Yan Couto, who we're likely to try and bring back on a permanent. And also John Duran, who was just here for the second half of last campaign. But what's our transfer budget for this season? I'm thinking around 150 million, and yes, 155. Okay, that's about what I thought it would be. Of course, we won the league and cup double last year and played in the Champions League, so it makes sense that we have more money than last year. And I think what I'm going to do to start off the campaign is just offer out a couple of new contracts. Here are the players with their deals up at the end of the year. For now, the only player that's going to get one is Fabian Ruiz, and we might give one to Sergio Rico at the end of the window as well. So I've just offered out 6 new contracts to kick off the new campaign, starting with Fabian Ruiz, and I quite like this one as well. He's on the same wage, but he's lowered his squad role to rotation, which I quite like, knowing that in the latter stages of his career, he may need to settle for a lower squad role. Javi Carrasco has also signed a new contract, upping his wage to $5,000 a week. He looks really good, the young Spaniard, so we're going to try and loan him out again this season. And speaking of good young Spaniards, Santiago Montoya also signed a new contract, a long-term contract, taking him to 6 years at the club, and he is definitely good enough to be a squad player this year, up to 77 overall. Mateo Joseph has also signed a deal, as he is now ready to become a squad player as well. Likely to be third choice behind Dovbyk and Levi, but I feel like he's now good enough to step in if needed. And then the 2 big contracts for 2 of our biggest players at either end of the pitch. Christian Mosquera has signed a new contract, taking him to $40,000 a week, with his deal now running for 5 years. And also Artem Dovbyk becomes the 4th highest earner at the club on $60,000 a week, much needed after his fantastic first season, and after an injury hit second campaign he came back firing. So yeah, 6 new contracts given out to start off the new campaign. This is still where we stand with the players with their contracts up at the end of the season. Almeida, Artero and Martinez likely to leave, and Sergio Rico, my plan is to offer him an extension, but we'll see what happens come the end of this summer transfer window. And finally, just to look at the players that are on the transfer list, we've got quite a few players up for loan, as I've got quite a few youngsters who aren't quite good enough yet to be members of the team, but could potentially still grow. So Selvi, who spent 2 years out on loan in Turkey. Alex Jimenez, who did get some football in the first season, but was loaned out in the second half of last campaign. Jakubishvili, also a young player with some decent potential, but again, he's not ready for the squad just yet. And as I mentioned a minute ago, Xavi Carrasco, really like the look of this guy. But at the moment, he is just not ready to be a part of the first team. As for the transfer listed players, the three I mentioned with their deals up at the end of the season, Almeida, Artero and Martinez, none of which are going to bring in much of a transfer fee, but it's more just to get them off the books. And also Gabri Veiga, who's still transfer listed at his own request after he submitted that request early on into last season. So yeah, that's all the sort of admin done. So time to kick on into the transfer window, and let's see what sort of offers we get. Well, already just on our second sim, some huge offers coming in. Manchester City wanting Christian Mosquera, but this is why I've just tied him down to that new long-term contract. He's not going anywhere. He's so good. And yes, maybe Manchester City would have more of a pull than Girona, and of course they are our feeder club, but I don't want to let Christian Mosquera go anywhere. If I was doing this solely based on realism, I'd let him go, but that's not all that this career mode is based on. We've also had a big bid for Miguel Gutierrez from Arsenal, trying to offer us Johan Bakayoko, who we used in Turin in our last career mode, but again, Miguel is not going anywhere. As for Gabri Veiga, a big bid from Milan as they look to offer us Yunus Musa in a part exchange. Well, Unai Emery, who we have done some business with before, has come in for Gabri Veiga. Obviously, he's still got 3 years left on his deal, and I'm hardballing and asking for 50 million. And Unai Emery says, yes, that is absolutely fine. So, looks as if the Spaniard won and done in Spain, and he could be joining up with a fellow Spaniard in the Premier League. We've also had a big bid here for Jarell Hato. But yeah, I'm not letting Jarell go anywhere. Big bid from Salernitana, but I don't want to let him go. We had a big bid from Atletico Madrid for Douglas Luiz, but again, not letting him go. As for Gabri Martinez, I quite like that one to Real Valladolid. As for the USG bid, I'm going to turn that down for now and hope that he goes to Valladolid. Couple of loan bids here as well for Jimenez and Jakubishvili, both of which we will delegate and try to get pushed through. We've just seen that Almenia's release clause has been met by Başakşehir. I can never pronounce that, but he looks as if he could be heading to Turkey. It's slightly under the market valuation, but as I say, with a year left on his deal, I'm happy just to get rid of him. So we're getting some good progress in these early days of the transfer window, as now Coventry City have met the release clause. So just sitting down here with Valencia's rep in regards to sending Alex Jimenez on a 1-year loan to the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. So happy with that. We've also had a loan bid for Selvi from Las Palmas, which I really like. So we'll try and get him out on a 1-year loan to join up with Tony, who's serving out the second year of his loan. And also another big bid for Gabri Veiga, this time from Villarreal, who we know have already signed 3 players from us in this save. Gazzaniga in Season 1, Herrera in Season 2, now they want Gabri Veiga. I'll negotiate. If they're willing to pay 50 million, then that's fine, and I will let Gabri Veiga decide where he wants to go. Well, we've got a deal going through, and I think Gabri Veiga may have gone to Aston Villa. Gabri Martinez to Valladolid is absolutely fine with me for just shy of 4 million, but I think the Gabri Veiga deal has gone through as well. No, maybe not. Just negotiating this loan bid here for Jakubishvili to head to Monza. Was out on loan at Alaves last year. Looks as if he's going to be heading to Italy for 2 years. I also see we've got another bid for Selvi. This one I'm actually going to reject because I'd rather get him to Las Palmas. And also, I quite like this one, a bid from Norwich City for Artero, where of course he spent, was it 2 years he was there on loan? Certainly 1 year. I think it may have been 2. And now they're looking to bring him back on a permanent. I'm happy to accept that and let him go to the Championship. Just negotiating the loan here for Selvi to head out to Las Palmas, and he will join up with Tony. As mentioned earlier, I've also received a big bid from Barcelona for Arnau Martinez. But as I said, we're not solely focusing on realism in this save. So although I think in real life you would probably not turn down the chance to play for Barcelona, we pipped them to the league title last year. So I'm going to say to Arnau, no, you're staying here. I think we've had a couple of deals go through here, and that's the big one. That's Gabri Veiga heading out the door to join Villarreal. Well, that's Jimenez. Okay, way to kill the suspension here. Alex Jimenez heading on loan to Valencia for a year. Almeida heading to Coventry City for 2.4 million. But I'm sure I saw that Gabri Veiga deal go through. There it is. Veiga becomes the third player in 3 years to join Villarreal. They are really turning into a bit of a rival club in this save. Oh, and for a 4-for-1, we've also seen the deal for Artero go through as well to join Norwich City. So 2 players sold to the Championship. Big sale of Gabri Veiga to Villarreal has brought our budget up to over £200 million. Well, we've practically cleared out everyone that we wanted to in the first 2 weeks of the window. Selvi and Jakubishvili look as if they're going to be heading out on loan, and now we've had a bid for Xavi Carrasco. I was hoping to get him somewhere in Spain, but we just haven't had the bid. So going to let him go to Nottingham Forest to play in the Premier League and get him some experience there. Just a 1-year loan, as I think he could potentially be ready to come back and play a role next season. And there's the big Hungarian defender, Jakubishvili, heading out on loan to Monza for 2 years. So yeah, just Selvi and Xavi left to go out on loan, the 2 Spaniards, and we've basically cleared everyone out that we wanted to in the first 2 or 3 weeks. I think that's Selvi heading out on loan to Las Palmas, which is for 12 months. So yeah, just Carrasco to go. I think it might be time to bring some players in. But before we do that, there is the loan for Xavi Carrasco going through. We have seriously cleared out all the players that we wanted to. Lots of loans going through. The Deadwood cleared out of the squad as well. So let's take a look at how we currently look heading into the season. Obviously, we can only stick to that 25 squad limit. I think in terms of newcomings, obviously, we're going to need a right back with Yan Couto going back to Manchester City. We lost Daley Blind through retirement, so potentially another centre-back, as Zabani is the only real other option we have there, although Jarrell Hato and El Hilali can both fill in. And I think for the starting 11, potentially someone to slot into that left centre mid-role, as I'd say on paper that is our weakest area on the pitch. But yeah, really liking how the squad is looking. Not looking to make any more major changes, but unless we do receive some big bids as we saw last summer in the transfer window, the squad is almost set for the upcoming season. And I think it is about time we made our first signing of the season. Oh, Kepa's gone back to Bilbao. That's actually class, that. He was released by Chelsea. I was keeping an eye on him, but he's gone back to Bilbao, which is actually really good for realism. So Kepa back at Athletic Bilbao. It's not a keeper that we are going to be bringing in, but I need a replacement for Daley Blind, who of course retired at the end of the season. And I want to get this man, Ladislav Krejci, I think it is. He's actually signed for Girona in real life, and he was really good at the Euros for the Czech Republic. So I think this is a win-win. Obviously, he signed in real life, so it's a realistic signing. He's currently at Mallorca, who were mid-table last season. And with Daley Blind retiring, I think he is the perfect replacement. He's 6'3", so he's an absolute giant. He's really, really good in the air, high jumping, really strong as well. 91 aggression to go with those stats as well. And he's a really good defender. And he's versatile as well, left-footed, so could potentially play as an unorthodox left-back in the sort of Dan Burn role for Newcastle, but he can play in CDM and centre-mid as well. Obviously not his preferred positions, he is more of a centre-back, but he's definitely got the stats to be able to play in there with the passing and the ball control. So yeah, as he's currently at Mallorca, who finished mid-table last season, I reckon he's not going to cost us too much more over the market valuation, and he's a Girona signing in real life. Ladislav Krejci, let's bring him to the Montalivi. Yeah, and I actually had a comment to bring this guy in on a previous episode as well. Wow, I was going to say I don't think they're going to ask for too much money, but I reckon 27.5. We might have to go in one more time. No, 27.5 plus a 10% sell-on clause, and Mallorca are happy to part with Ladislav. So Ladislav Krejci is in and becomes our first signing of the summer for 27.5 million. It's a 3-year, 30 grand a week contract for the Czech Republic international, who signed for Girona in real life this summer. In the save, he's taken a detour to Mallorca, but I think he's a really good signing for the squad and as our long-term replacement for Daley Blind. Ladislav, welcome to Girona. Well, we've had an interesting bid here from Real Sociedad for Adrian Bernabe. They, of course, did finish in, I think it was a Europa League or Conference League spot last year. But I like Bernabe. He knows his role in this team. He's grown nicely up to 79 overall. He is potentially one of the squad players that we could look to let go, but I think I'd rather keep him here. The money isn't really important to us at the moment. Okay, we could maybe bring someone in who's slightly better, but I like Bernabe. I don't really see the point in selling at this current stage. We've seen that Thomas Suslov is just returning from his injury that he picked up towards the end of the season. We've also got a monthly youth academy update where I might start promoting some of these guys and look to get them some football, because the likes of Rafael and Pedro Almeida, I mean, they're all good enough to be playing right now. Castro and possibly Inaki Flores as well. I think I'll keep these two in the youth academy for now, but those 4 that we just promoted, I might try and loan them all out this season. And we'll check the potentials of these guys as well, as I think a few of them could have some good potential. Rafael is showing great potential, whilst Lucas Castro is an exciting prospect. We will add both of those two to the loan list and look to get them out on loan. As for Pedro Almeida, really good defensive midfielder. He's got the exciting prospect tag, just 16 years of age, and already has some fantastic base defensive stats. And the last man, Inaki Flores, he is also an exciting prospect. So some really good youth players. Some of these guys just 16 years of age. And yeah, again, some really good base stats for Inaki Flores. He came out of the academy as a left back. We converted him to left wing. And of course, we've got Santiago Montoya with the potential to be special on the right. Could we see these two on our flanks at some point in this save? Well, our first loan bid here, Lucas Castro wanted by relegated Eibar, so we'll delegate the loan and try and get him out for 2 years. We've also had a loan bid for Rafael Borges from Celta Vigo, so again 2-year loan for the Brazilian, who I've given some lovely sweatpants, and maybe looking for a long-term replacement for Guaita. Big bid from Dortmund for Douglas Luiz, which is going to be turned down. Dougie's not going anywhere. Another loan bid here for another of our young players that we've just promoted. Al Ali, last year's Saudi Pro League winners, wanting the Brazilian Pedro Almeida. Not really where I would have predicted him at 16 to go and learn his trade, but fair enough. And finally, a loan bid for Inaki Flores as well, this time from Granada. I have a feeling we've already got a player out on loan at Granada. I have to double check that, but potentially joining up with one of his teammates. Well, as we see, the first of those loan deals does go through. Rafael is off to Celta Vigo for 2 years. I think it is finally time to bring him back on a permanent deal. Where is he? Yan Couto. Couto. There's been an approach from Roma, but with his deal up seemingly at the end of this season or potentially next year, we're going to say to Yan, you've spent 2 years on loan at the Montalivi. Come back, make it a permanent, and join us for real this time. Yes, of course, Rome is a lovely city, Yan, but you've built up a connection with myself, the players and the fans here at Girona. Seems as if we can get him on a pretty cut price deal, although they're asking for a lot of money there. 39 million. I think it's probably going to be 40 million for him, which, to be fair, is around what I thought we would have to pay. 40 million plus a sell-on clause, and Pep Guardiola is happy to let the Brazilian depart. So Yan Couto is finally back on a permanent deal from Manchester City after we agreed a 40 mil fee with Pep Guardiola. It's a 5-year, 65 grand a week contract, which does make him one of our highest earners at the club, but he's also taken a significant pay cut from what he was on at Manchester City, earning over 100 grand. I think it's realistic though, and to be honest, I see Yan Couto this season as my main choice for that right back role. Of course, he'll share the game time with Arnau Martinez, but I think he is going to be our starter down that right flank. Buzzing to finally have him back on a permanent deal. Well, that deal brings the budget down to 135 million, but of course we are now at the 25 player squad limit that La Liga sets out, so we would have to sell before we can bring anyone else in. But I'm still waiting for the remainder of those young youth players that we promoted to be loaned out. I think this is going to be at least one of them going through here. So that's Lucas Castro heading out on loan to Eibar for 2 years. Well, there's another deal going through. That's Pedro Almeida, the big Brazilian DM, heading out to Al Ahly for 2 years. So just waiting for Inaki Flores to depart, but we have made it to the first game of the season away against Mallorca, who of course we signed Ladislav Krejci from. I think what I'm probably going to do is just play this opening day of the season, and then we'll maybe go from there, see if we get any bids and decide what we want to do in the transfer window. So here is our lineup for match day 1. There's not really any major changes to our best 11, as we've only brought in Couto, who of course returns after his loans, and also Ladislav Krejci, who's going to be more of a squad player. So yeah, the team looks the same heading into match day 1 of season 3, looking to get off to a winning start to defend our La Liga crown. Vamos, Girona. Dada loses out to Dougie Luiz. Now Garcia out to Viktor Zigankov. Couto on the underlapping run. This would be a fantastic third debut if he can get an assist. And there's Dovbyk. And back in the starting lineup from the off, hoping that he's going to stay injury free this year. I think there's every chance that Artem Dovbyk could reach 40 goals. That's a good ball into Camelo, the former Vallecano man. And now Costa runs into Mosquera. Mosquera looks to release Dovbyk, and he's in behind. He's got the pace. Artem Dovbyk for 2. And he's surely secured the points now. Well, a couple of changes for us here and a couple of debuts as well. Santiago Montoya, the young Spaniard product of the Girona Youth Academy, is on for his debut. And also Ladislav Krejci against his former team comes on in the heart of that midfield as well, just to help us see out the game. Oh, and that's a straight red for Sergi Dada as well. It was a pretty poor tackle, to be fair. Comes straight through the back of Suslov. I thought it was going to be just a yellow. Referee reaches for the red. And the day goes from bad to worse for Mallorca. Down to 10 men. That's another poor tackle, that. They're just out here trying to injure us now. But there is the whistle. And it's comfortable in the end for Girona. Dovbyk with 2 goals on the opening day. And it's Girona with 3 points on match day 1 as we look to defend our crown and hold off Real Madrid and Barcelona for the La Liga title this season. Perfect start, 3 points on the board and 2 goals for Artem Dovbyk as well. And as we get back to the menu, we didn't get an animation, but we see that Inaki Flores has gone out on loan to Granada, and I just accidentally deleted the email. One of the players that I've been keeping tabs on in this save is Pedro Porro, of course, now at Spurs, but Juve have had an offer accepted for the Spaniard, who did have a couple of years where he was at Girona, so I've had him on the shortlist as a potential option. Now you might be thinking that we're absolutely stacked at right back, and you'd be absolutely correct in thinking that, but what I'm actually planning on doing is adding El Hilali to the loan list. Now don't get me wrong, I like Omar, he's a decent squad player, but as I've mentioned, we need to cut back on the squad size because we're going to be over the 25 man limit. I don't really want to sell El Hilali, but I am happy to let him go out on loan this year. Still only 21 years of age and some room to grow. And then what I might do is use Arnau Martinez as more of central defensive cover. Of course, we've got Mosquera and Mika as the main two. We've brought in Ladislav, who can play on that left side or potentially in midfield. And Ilya Zabarnyi, who at the moment would be our 4th choice centre-back. We might demote him to sort of 5th choice centre-back, with Arnau being able to cover that right-hand side. And he's definitely got the stats for it. Of course, he's 6 foot tall, so he's good. He's tall enough to play there. He's good in the air, and he's not the quickest for a fullback. He's not got the lightning pace of Yan Couto, but his defensive stats are very good. And that would mean that Yan Couto and Porro can compete for the right back position. And Porro as well is good enough to play centre mid if needed. So it brings us extra quality in depth over someone like El Hilali, who hasn't necessarily done anything wrong to warrant being loaned out. But Porro just provides us extra quality and extra squad depth. Another big bid here from Man City, this time for Miguel Gutierrez. And they're trying to offload Jack Grealish, but as I've said, I'm not doing this save purely on realism, so Miguel is going to be staying. But another interesting bid here from RB Salzburg for Sergio Rico. Of course, his deal is up at the end of the season, and I did say I will likely offer him a new deal. But to go and play first team football in Austria rather than be back up here, I'm going to accept the offer and give Sergio the chance. If he wants to go and play for Salzburg, then I'm happy to let him go, and I've already got a backup goalkeeper lined up. Another bid here, this time for Mateo Joseph. Espanyol wanting to bring him to Barcelona, but I've said this season I'm happy to have Mateo as our 3rd choice striking option, so going to turn that down for the time being. Still no bids for El Hilali, and we are running out of time if we wanted to bring in Pedro Porro. I'm very tempted just to pull the trigger on that one and bring him in, because he's going to join Juventus if we wait any longer. Yeah, I reckon we can get him for close to that market valuation as well. So I'm going to go in at 48 million. And, oh, okay, Ange Postecoglou says, yes, that's absolutely fine. So yes, Pedro Porro is in from Tottenham Hotspur for £48 million. It's a 4-year, 65 grand a week deal, so similar to that of Yan Couto. You may be thinking that we're massively overstacked in certain areas now, but look at this guy's stats. Greens all over the place. He can play left back, he can play right back, and I think he could even play in central midfield as well with the stats that he's got. He's a fantastic player technically. We know that there's been some question marks in real life over him defensively and his awareness, but there's no denying technically Pedro Porro is a fantastic player, and he returns to the club where he spent 2 years back in 2017 to 2019. Pedro Porro, welcome back to the Montalivi. Well, there is a loan offer for El Hilali. It's a bit of a strange one, as Barcelona want to take him. I'd like to keep him here. I doubt he's going to get much game time at Barcelona, but of course we'll let him go there, as Sergio Rico does decide to depart to Red Bull Salzburg. So I don't mind that too much. It's a one and done for Sergio Rico, and he'll always be remembered for his penalty heroics in our run in the Copa del Rey last year. Well, interestingly enough, another bid for El Hilali on loan, this time from Spurs, and I mean that one makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it? With Pedro Porro departing the club, they're in the market, and as El Hilali's in the shop window, they're saying, yeah, okay, we'll bring him in. Also a bid from Real Sociedad for Fabian Ruiz. Quite a realistic one, to be fair, but of course just signed an extension in the summer. If he was a few years older, at maybe 32, then I'd consider it, but he's so good in this team, Fabian Ruiz. A system player that works down to a T. He is going to be staying. Well, we are starting to see some developments in the transfer window now. I think what we'll do is we'll play out Celta Vigo at home at the Montilivi. Then we'll come back in the next episode to close out the summer transfer window, where we've still got around £87 million in the budget. We'll also see the draw for the Champions League as we return to Europe's elite. So yeah, Celta Vigo to close out today's episode. Vamos, Girona. New season here today. We should be able to get the job done. Promising start. And Dovbyk, speaking of promising starts, 3 goals for him already in, well, just over a game of football. Mosquera, dominant, wins his header, leaves his man on the deck. Fabian Ruiz through to Artem Dovbyk. Danger there. And the defender got across. It's not our young loanee who's in goal for Celta Vigo today, as Mosquera heads in the second. And the keeper's not got close to either of our goals. Such a threat from corners and set pieces. Well, I'm making some changes pretty early on in this second half. Got a few tired legs out there already. And it's Pedro Porro who's onto the field for his second debut at the club after his big money move from Tottenham Hotspur. Another corner for Girona. Garcia looking for Levi this time. 3-0. All 3 goals from corners assisted by Alex Garcia. And it's Levi Garcia who gets his first of the campaign. Well, that is going to do it here at the Montilivi. It's back-to-back wins for Girona as we look to start our title defence with a 100% record. 2 clean sheets in 2 as well. Surely we're not going to break our own defensive record that we set from last year. I think it was 16 that we conceded in the league last year in 38 games. Surely we're not going to go one better and make it 15. 2 clean sheets from 2 for Julen and a perfect start to the season for Girona. And that is where we will leave it for today's episode then. First one of Season 3, and it's been a good start. We've managed to add to our squad, and 2 wins from 2 in La Liga. We're off to the perfect start in our title defence. We'll be back in the next episode to close out the transfer window, where we've still got around 85 million to spend. You won't want to miss it. I'll catch you for it very soon, guys, and peace.